So if you've ever been frustrated with nutrition and trying to figure out what the best diet is, or how many macros you should be eating, or how many calories you should be eating, you're certainly not alone, because it is one of the most chaotic, craziest subjects in the world of health today. And back in my late 20s, early 30s, I was diagnosed with cancer. And during that time, I decided to opt out of chemotherapy and instead try to heal my cancer naturally. Now, I'm not saying that everybody should do this, but that's when I really started digging into nutrition and where I became really, really frustrated. And the reason being is there are so many different diets and different ways of approaching it. And even science hasn't really figured it out because there's so many different variables and so many things kind of at play here. And when you look at it from a standpoint of not just losing weight, where like if we just starve someone, obviously we can get someone to lose weight, but more from a health standpoint, it becomes really, really complicated. So here is the thought experiment that I used back in my 30s, which has served me so well for the majority of my adult life. And not only has it served me, it's served all of my clients, from the highest level of athletes to the guy who's 70 years old and just wants to live as healthfully as he possibly can. So this methodology, this thought experiment that I used, literally spans everyone. It's a beautiful foundation. And first thing, before I tell you what that is, I think it's important to come to nutrition with a little bit of humility, to understand and be okay with knowing that you don't know what's perfect, right? Like nobody in this world, I don't care how smart they are or how many degrees they have, they can't tell you exactly what perfect nutrition is going to be for you or anyone for that matter. So I think that's first and foremost. We need to come at this whole thing with a little bit of humility and then to start to ask some different questions. Instead of asking questions of like how many grams of carbohydrates or proteins or fats or how many calories should I be eating, instead, let's look at this from a little different way. And let me explain exactly what I mean. So I had a nutritionist many years ago who told me, Tony, Mother Nature has your back. And it took me a while to kind of process that and realize what it is that she meant, because I was so interested in calories and in macros and all of those things. And once I really wrapped my head around it, it started with me thinking like, okay, if all of the grocery stores and all of the restaurants literally disappeared tomorrow, what would I feed myself and my family? Right? And if you think about that for a moment, you can start to piece together kind of a nutrition plan, right? Or at least some foundational elements of what it might take to make sure that you and your family stay nourished and overall healthy. So what would that look like? Right? You're probably gonna pick up hunting. You might start growing some things in your yard, right? You might start foraging for berries. We're gonna rely much more on Mother Nature. Now, when we go to that style of living, let me ask you this. Do you feel like you would be healthier if you just really started eating foods that came from Mother Nature? If you put your trust in Mother Nature, do you think you'd be in a better place? Do you think you would carry excess body fat? Do you think you'd have better energy? Do you think you would sleep better at night? Do you think everything would get better if you had those types of choices all around you, and if they were the only kinds of choices, right? And I would argue that quality of food makes the quality of your life so much better. And then you don't have to think about calories and protein and fat and carbohydrates and all of those things, because you're going to be pulling from all of those different categories and you're going to be the most healthful version of yourself. So I started experimenting with this and I gave up on calories, I gave up on all that stuff, and I just started eating real food. And it came down to these categories: meat, veggies, nuts, seeds, and fruit. And I'm going to say it again: meat, veggies, nuts, seeds, and fruit. If you can get back to Mother Nature and you can put your trust and your faith into Mother Nature, right? Almost like, I know it almost sounds religious, but it's true. If you can do that, I promise you, if you do that for the rest of your life, you make more good decisions than bad decisions that lean on Mother Nature, you're going to be in a better place. You're going to see your body fat disappear. You're going to feel better. Your mood's going to get better. You're going to sleep better at night. You're going to be able to perform better in your workouts and your daily activities. Everything gets better when you just transition into eating real food. Now, if you've got a million questions, like a lot of people do, on what that looks like and what kind of nuts and what kinds of seeds, you're overthinking this, okay? Especially in the beginning. You can go down some of those rabbit holes later. But first things first, don't worry yourself with all the little intricate details like I did back in the day. Instead, just start eating from those categories. Don't worry about how much, don't worry about anything else except for that. And I can almost guarantee you that you are going to be in a better place, especially if you stick with it. And once you get into it, it's actually very easy to sustain. And it's been my magic trick. And it's really not even magic, but it's been my magic trick for almost 20 years and why I've been able to keep myself incredibly healthy, cancer-free, and a very high performer at 49 years old. And I continue and will continue to do this for the rest of my life. So, mad success to you. Eat real food, put your trust in Mother Nature, and put the blinders on. Don't worry about what all the influencers and everybody else is saying. They're working on it. The scientists are working on it. But as of right now, we don't have it figured out. So the best thing we can do is rely on Mother Nature.